Welcome to Ignite Visibility University Interview Edition, where we learn from the top marketers in the world, what drives them, their mistakes, their wins, and secrets to success. This podcast is brought to you by Ignite Visibility, one of the top digital marketing agencies in the nation.
All right, everybody, welcome to another Ignite Visibility University. Today I have Nancy Boggett with us to discuss what marketing looks like at the highest level. Really excited to be speaking with her. Nancy, if you don't know, she has been VP of the incubation team at Intel, VP of Global Marketing Strategy at Intel, an SVP and CMO at Macromedia, and held critical marketing roles at a number of different companies. So Nancy is a seasoned marketing and business executive who excels at identifying new opportunities, and she's currently president at the Maribel Group. And Nancy, thank you so much for being on the Ignite Visibility University podcast. How are you doing today?
Hey, John, I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me here.
Awesome. Thanks so much for being here. So the first thing I wanted to get into is I just want to hear a little bit about your current role. What are you up to today? What does your day-to-day look like? Tell me just a little bit about that.
Sure. So as John said, I'm the president of the Maribel Group, which is a consulting company, and we're focused on sales and marketing strategy and research and insights, and generally work with clients that have a changing business priority, or have identified areas where they're looking to develop new products, enter new markets, really trying to change and amplify their commercial efforts. And we work with clients from all sizes, startups, large companies, across verticals, although a lot of B2B. And it's really exciting in this stage of my career to be able to spend my time talking to other marketers, senior executives focused on their business strategy and working as an extension of their team to help drive results.
Awesome. And I've seen a lot of people who have had these really amazing careers in marketing eventually kind of transition into a role like you're in now. And I'm sure you're bringing just a ton of high level of strategic and tactical value to a lot of different people in that role. I want to go back just a little bit. And I know that our Ignite Visibility listeners, they're really interested in what a career path looks like to eventually getting to a position like a VP of Global Marketing at Intel. So I wonder if you wouldn't mind, could you walk us through kind of like what did your career path look like to getting to Intel and even to where you are today?
Sure. So, marketing, it's interesting how it's developed over the years because there's so many different areas of expertise. And with something like engineering, people tend to be a certain type of engineer, an industrial or mechanical or electrical engineer. With marketing, some people also focus in the same way where they're specialists in digital or product or strategy. What I've done is a little bit different in that I've been very deliberate in accepting positions and working to build out my capabilities across marketing in every domain. So I started out in an agency in the media side, really focused on expertise there, got involved with creative, moved into digital expertise, product marketing, and strategy. So I've got a real breadth of capabilities across the spectrum of marketing. And in hand with that, I've also worked in a lot of different settings. So from the agency side to a marketing services startup, jumping over to the client side, working small clients, large clients like that breadth, I think has been really interesting for me. And, what's, I think, pushed me, and I give a lot of advice along these lines of, don't be afraid to take risks and really think about, learning. So you can learn either my way where you're looking across the breadth, or you can go real deep and become an expert in so many different areas that are associated, for example, with digital.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think, you can get pigeonholed a little bit, right? So say you just spend, 8 or 9 years just doing paid media and just specifically Google AdWords. That's something that could probably hinder somebody who's looking to get into kind of a general top level strategic marketing role. Would you say that's correct?
Yes, I agree. And that's why I think particularly earlier on in your career, when you're looking at the first 5 to 7 years, how are you trying out different types of marketing areas, and how are you getting a feel for it? Because particularly in this day and age, marketing is all about integration. It's digital plays a really critical role across everything that we do. So the more you can pick up different areas, and then if you choose to focus and then go deeper in one, that's fine, but at least you've given yourself a really strong foundation of understanding different parts of the marketing spectrum.
Awesome. That's great advice. So Ignite University, everybody out there, think about creating a diversified skill set. I started out actually at a magazine where I became director of online communications. Then I was a marketing manager at a place for a couple of years, and then I became a director of SEO. And then, I kind of worked in all these different areas. I would agree with Nancy 100%. That just makes you so well-rounded, and understanding those different aspects can make you a great marketer. So, and Nancy, that's allowed you to climb, all the way up to really the highest levels of marketing. And I think it'd just be really interesting for our listeners to hear when you finally get there, right? When you finally become, the SVP, the CMO, when you become the VP of global strategy at a big company, what does it feel like up there? What does your day-to-day look like? Walk us through that just a little bit.
Sure. Well, I think first of all, you never stop learning. And that's one of the things that once you get to the most senior role or a senior role, you still have to be in touch with what's going on around the whole marketing world. And it's very dynamic. So, I'm not an expert on Google AdWords, but I certainly try to pay attention, and I watch your podcast, John, so I'm familiar with what's going on. So you've got to continue that learning aspect and being knowledgeable of what is happening in the marketing industry.
Definitely. And I think one thing I've noticed, I do have one or two friends who are in that role as a CMO, and I've seen some of them who are very deliberate with their time and they don't overbook themselves. I've seen other ones who are CMOs who are triple booked every hour of every day. I mean, is it very busy at that level? Are there certain things you have to do to kind of manage your time effectively?
Definitely. I think everyone's busy now. It's not just, certain type of industry or companies. So I think I set aside time for reading and for watching podcasts and attending conferences and doing everything I can, because being knowledgeable and educating myself continues to be an important part of my job, regardless of what company I'm at. So I think that is critical.
And when, these company structures just grow and grow and grow, and we're talking to Qualcomm on the podcast pretty soon here. I'm excited to kind of hear about how they're structuring their marketing department. But when the companies get so large, how do you effectively manage, a marketing team of 20 or 50 people or 100 people across different product lines? What goes into that? Is it, executive dashboards? Talk to me about that a little bit.
Yeah, so one of the things I was going to point to your comment around how do you stay aligned with what's happening in the industry, I think surrounding yourself with really strong people is critical. So whether it's people on your team as a senior manager, or whether it's having peers that are really knowledgeable in different areas that you can turn to and talk about, what they're working on and learn from them. From a more tactical perspective, collaboration is really critical, but having access to information. And that's where the ability to have dashboards, so it's easy to see what's going on. You can pull up reports at every level. There's some different kind of collaboration tools. Some companies are using Slack. There's a lot of different types of products out there. So having access to information, being able to report out and share it in a nimble fashion is really critical, because information is valuable and used at all levels of the organization. So there's a lot of different things in terms of how you manage both at a very large level with a lot of people, as well as how you manage in a smaller environment.
And it seems like to me, it becomes much more strategic, business-oriented, new business elements, new market entry. opposed to like tactical stuff. So, for all you Ignite listeners out there, that's a big shift from somebody who's a specialist to becoming a head of marketing. When do you see the shift from tactic to strategy really happen?
Well, I think two parts to that. So one, as I see marketing really getting much more accepted as having a seat at the table and driving business impact, and that's at the most senior levels. That's really increased, I'd say, over the last couple of years, and there's a number of CMOs out there who have done a really terrific job of driving a very strong, important role at the senior leadership team. As you go through your career and you reach different levels, really thinking about the strategy at every single level is increasingly important, because you need to be able to equate what you're doing with really what's the value of that and the importance. And you have to be able to articulate that, because you can be a really great tactician and have your spreadsheets and your numbers and have the best plans in place. But if you can't articulate that to your boss or to other important business leaders as to why you're doing it and why it matters to them in a language that they understand, then you're never going to be able to continue to rise in your career. So I think you always need to be strategic at every level. As you move up the ladder, the amount of strategy becomes increasingly important. But you've got to be thinking it every time, even your first job. What am I doing and why should someone care about it?
100%. And I thank you so much. So Ignite listeners, it's so important to keep that in mind. I used to think I had to pack, 100 pages into a deck with tactic. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. When you're working with somebody at Nancy's level, that's really not what they want to see. They want to see one slide, top level strategy, showing that you can summarize and take the big picture of a massive business and put it into one area that's brief, that's going to save them time, give them the information that they need to make the decisions. And so that's a big shift, and something that I've learned by Nancy, talking to you, frankly, and then working with other CMOs over time. So really interesting stuff there. And I think strategy is really everything as you get working with bigger and bigger companies. And so, Nancy, shifting gears a little bit, the marketing world is changing a lot. We're seeing a lot of people go from more traditional-based advertising to digital advertising. We're seeing digital advertising get incredibly sophisticated. So many different places to spend your money, so many different sources and mediums as far as traffic going to your website. So where are you seeing some of the biggest successes in marketing right now, and how has that kind of changed over the last few years?
So the rise of digital has been, I think, incredible, both with the speed and the increased sophistication and innovation, as you point out. And I do think, a lot of large companies that were known for their digital marketing efforts have, if not gone completely to digital, it now represents a significant portion of their marketing spend and activities. So that's important. And what's interesting too is the whole field of digital measurement is changing. And that relates back to our ability to demonstrate the business impact and also be accountable. So there's a bunch of new companies too that are jumping up, that are helping in terms of the measurement and the tracking space there. I think there's some other areas that tie back to this when you think about digital, in terms of, one of them is the rise of direct to consumer. So D2C, you're seeing much and more marketing innovation. A lot of it is digital in terms of how you reach customers, as well as innovation in testing different types of sales channels. So another couple things too, as I think about digital that's related, getting back to, data. One of the reasons why I think some of the early companies getting into the space was their ability to track. And it's not just, click-throughs and all the actions are taken from a campaign perspective. It's really getting into data itself and data about our customers and prospects. And what does that mean from a digital strategy in a big data perspective. So you're seeing this small world of digital that's now grown and expanded to so many different aspects of what digital really means and what's included in that definition.
I think you just hit such a really important point, and I just find it fascinating the way that you can organize data nowadays, from cooking people and turning them into different audiences for paid media, for Facebook, the lookalike audience, email addresses, finding people to target through online through email addresses. I mean, data, just building data over time, never looking at a visitor as one visitor, but as a piece of data that you hold on to for as long as, until they clear you or until you get in trouble from the European Union for GDPR, basically, or you have to follow those rules, of course, right? But so I would say, you know, I've heard from a lot of people, like, pain point wise, one of the biggest problems they have is clear attribution and clear tracking. What are some of the bigger pain points that you're seeing for your clients and that you've seen just in general from the marketing perspective in the modern age?
So, you know, you mentioned the privacy issue, and, you know, some people are saying, oh, now we can't track, we can't collect data, and that's really not the case at all. So I think the real challenge for marketers is, how do you become relevant? And we're seeing a lot of this with the rise of brands that are focused on being socially conscious, and companies that are taking more of an outside-in perspective that is about how are they relating to the people that they want to sell to? Are they developing products and solutions that match their needs? Are they socially responsible in that their values map back to the people they're trying to reach? And if that's the case, then people are more than willing to actually give you their data, and they want you to reach out to them. So I think what's interesting now is it's an easy way out to say, well, I can't track, and there's all these privacy laws in place, and that forbid me or prevent me from doing my job effectively. Instead, the challenge is, how do you do your job in a way that you're really much more focused on the market and bringing that insight in to your messaging, to your communication efforts, even to your products? And the role of marketing helping to influence all that, in some cases owning it, is really important. And I think that's I'd say a challenge, but it's also an opportunity.
I think you just hit on one of the major pain points, major opportunities. I'm so excited you brought that up. I was talking to another gentleman who mentioned the same thing. He was saying, you know, for digital marketing agencies, it's the biggest opportunity and the toughest time ever, because the great people who can differentiate themselves are going to go to the top and get market share. The other people who are not good, you know, it's going to become too competitive. They're going to be gobbled up. And then I think about, you know, you talked about differentiator. There's this shirt that I bought the other day from a store called Untuck It. They have shirts just like everybody else out there. There's one main differentiator. It's part of their brand name. It's that it's really been designed so that you can wear it untucked, right? That differentiator has allowed that brand to completely cut through the clutter. I also bought a pair of shorts the other day while we're talking about what kind of clothes I wear, but the shorts basically were marketing themselves on Instagram as the most comfortable shorts in the world, right? That was the main thing that they led with, and they just built this whole story around how comfortable they are and how many different places you can wear them, and they really, really knew their market. So I think that if you can really refine that message in the modern day and hit people a couple times with all these targeting abilities that we now have now, it is a huge opportunity. And I think that's kind of what you're saying, right?
Yeah, that's definitely what I'm saying. And those are two great examples. The Shorts Company, are they the ones that started in San Francisco?
They may be. I'm blanking on the name right now. It started with a V or something, but
Okay.
they're doing mostly, and I've seen a lot of this. It's like companies that will build a story. They'll have almost no brand, but they build a great story, and then they just run tons of social media ads and do consistent remarketing through that, and they build great business models off of it.
Great. So that's a good example of what we were talking about. So, and I think too that there's the opportunity in digital, and it is harder, but it's worth it. And it also raises the importance of, as a digital marketer, are you collaborating with other members of the marketing team? And that's where getting the messaging right. understanding the profile of who you're reaching out to, what are their passions. So it all comes together, and it brings up that word of integration, not just from a campaign perspective, but an integration from a communications and a value prop setting.
Awesome stuff. Great. So last question I had for you today before I just want to hear a little bit about anything new that's going on with you that we can kind of shout out. But, just any final tips, people in the modern day marketing climate, marketers today, any final kind of words of advice for them in 2019 so they can be successful?
Wow, that's a tall ask. Well, I'll say, first of all, let me say there's not enough conversation around people development. And I think at all stages of your career, and you can be a junior person who's working with an intern, or, a college student is asking you for advice. I think at all levels, we need to see our roles and our responsibilities in helping to develop other people, whether it's mentoring or just teaching or just sharing information. And there's a famous quote from Madeleine Albright that I love. She says, there's a special place in hell for women that don't help other women. I'd actually broaden it too, because I think helping men as well is critically important. So as you grow throughout your career, think about, both your role, how you're getting ahead, how you're expanding your own experiences and knowledge base, but also what are you leaving behind and how are you helping other people? So that's one really important piece I want to make sure, because it is the role of everyone out there.
Absolutely. Continue to invest in yourself. Continue to learn, stay dedicated to just learning on a weekly basis, getting better at your field. Things change so fast. And I know I kind of put you on the spot with that question, Nancy, but things change so fast, especially this year, in the modern age. I mean, the thing is almost a lot of the experience that I have from, over the last, decade or two, it's not as relevant. What matters is what's working right now. So I love that, investing in yourself, studying, learning, becoming better. And a great place to do that is to watch the weekly news videos that I put out there. So if anybody's listening, you can check those out. Nancy, as far as next things that you have going on and that are coming up in your life, anything exciting on the business or personal side that we should keep an eye out for?
Yeah, I just say I'm real excited right now about the opportunities for all of us as marketers. Personally, with the Maribel Group, I'm working with great clients, both from startup to larger companies, helping them both drive change, addressing challenges. So it's a really terrific time. And I'd say the second thing that I'm excited about is just seeing the recognition of marketers around the world. And there's some really great people out there in the industry that are doing a terrific job, and seeing them get recognition, I think, is a wonderful thing for us all.
Awesome. Nancy, thank you so much for taking time, for giving back, for helping marketers, the Ignite Visibility listeners out there. We really appreciate the words of wisdom. I know people are going to learn a lot from this podcast. So thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time, and have a great day. Talk to you soon.
Thank you very much.